All right, from the traveling studios, we're in Detroit, Michigan now. It's the Rami V podcast. And today, I got to tell you guys something special because we have a sponsor. The Rami V podcast is brought to you by Huga House, which is a brand of clothing. And I think it's caps and t-shirts mostly, but they have some other stuff. You can check it out. The word Huga, apparently, and this is according to Aaron Rodgers, because that's how I discovered this company, it means cherish the little things, apparently. I don't know if that's true or not, but Aaron Rodgers said so, and Aaron Rodgers looked really cool in those hats. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to look into this company. I kind of got into them. I'm not wearing a hat today, but I'll have one soon enough once they send me one. They're sending it now. Probably already arrived to my apartment back in New York, but I'm traveling, as you know. So here I am. You can go to Huga House and order a hat for yourself or any t-shirts or any apparel and use my name, Rami, R-A-M-I, for 15% off of your order. So that's pretty good right there. You get 15% off and it helps grow the podcast, grow the page. So I appreciate it if you do that. To the sports and everything that's gone on last night and yesterday. And of course, with the whole schedule and how we're scheduling everything, everything's changed because of the holiday. So it's a Friday, which I would be doing a preview. It's not late night, but I've been doing recaps the next day, kind of. So here we are. I wanted to do last night. I was on a flight. I paid for the Wi-Fi on the flight to watch the game, but then I couldn't record a show on the flight because that would be rude. And someone was having a medical emergency, which I've never been a part of on a flight. And by the way, the worst place you want to be when you're having a medical emergency on a flight, the worst airline is for sure Spirit, because you know there are no doctors on Spirit Airlines. Now, I think hopefully this person was okay. It was just a lot of vomiting. I don't think it was anything beyond that, but we had to sit on the plane and wait for medical attention to come, medical staff to come get her off the plane once we landed. So I think this person was fine. I don't think there was like anything crazy. So I'm not like joking about something terribly sad here, but yeah, definitely Spirit Airlines is not, when they make that announcement, you hear the tremble in the stewardess's voice. Is there a medical staff on this flight? There definitely isn't. Where it was an empty flight and we wanted to move up like 2 seats to go sit in the exit row, which was completely empty, which a lot of flights, they'll ask people to sit in the exit row in case of emergency so that people can assist. So they'll specifically move people up. But because of Spirit, they're like, nope, if you're not willing to pay the extra to move up to the exit row, we're not going to move you up, even if there is emergency. Sorry, everyone's going to die. So that's Spirit for you. I'm not getting a Spirit sponsorship anytime soon. But again, Huga House, go get a cap, go get a t-shirt, go get whatever you want, and use my code, Rami, R-A-M-I, for 15% off. I see there's something on the microphone that's kind of bothering me. There it is. Took it off. So hopefully that didn't sound too crazy if you're listening to this right now. All right, let's talk about it. So my point is that we've been doing these recap videos kind of the next day. And so Sunday we'll do another video and then we'll be off a couple of days. So again, it's going to be all over the place, but hopefully we'll be back to the regular late night schedule once we get back home next week. So the New York Knicks, let's start there. You didn't expect this series to be easy, right? I told you I thought the Knicks were going to win the series. I told you I thought they'd win in 6. But to think that the Sixers were just going to fold and roll over at home, I mean, you couldn't have possibly thought that. It doesn't make sense. They weren't going to do that. So they won a game at home. They won a game that they desperately had to have. They came out fiery. They came out strong. The Knicks kept punching back, and ultimately it was too much. That's not what drives me crazy, or that's not going to make me crazy about this game. I can concede a loss in which their superstar scored 50 points. I can concede a loss in which Jalen Brunson came to life, which I told you he would. The issue for me is that crying works in the NBA. Complaining works in the NBA. And if you cry and complain enough, you'll get your way. And that's a problem for the league. The Sixers cried and complained after game 2 about foul calls, even though Embiid is swiping his arms and getting ticky-tack foul calls left and right. They cried and complained, and guess what? They got their way. Joel Embiid with multiple, whether it's the hit on Isaiah Hartenstein, whether it's lifting his leg up and kicking Mitchell Robinson in the nuts, whether it's pulling Mitchell Robinson down, which should have had him thrown out of the game right then and there, whether it's backing up into OG Anunoby at the end of the game, which could have gotten him kicked out there and knocking him over right before he gets like a tiny swipe on his wrist and gets a foul called. He complained over and over again, so the refs didn't call anything on him. That's how it works. That's what happens in the NBA. We've seen it time and time again. So Tom Thibodeau, it's his time to fight back. It's like, oh, I'm going to send the plays into the league. Here's what we're going to send in. And now the NBA is now taking down videos, and this is ridiculous. This is such pettiness by the league, taking down videos that they know are dirty. They're marking them as copyright, which they don't do for any NBA highlights of all these plays that Joel Embiid is making because it looks bad for the league. They know it looks terrible for the league. And the fact that there's no discipline today, the fact that they haven't come out yet and said Joel Embiid is suspended for a game or something like that, it's not going to happen. They're not going to take their best player out of what is the most compelling first round series. So the Knicks are at a disadvantage. It sucks, but guess what? They cried and they bullied, and now they got their way back. But guess what this means? The Knicks are still the tougher team. The Knicks are still more physically dominant. I don't trust the Sixers, crybabies, little bitches like Joel Embiid. They're not going to be toughness. They're not going to be tough. They're not going to sustain this toughness for the next 4 games, 5 games of this series. It's just not going to happen. 4 games. So I still think the Knicks are the better team in this kind of tough matchup. So guess what that means? They're more mentally tough. They're more physically tough. So if you're going to call the series this way and you're going to let Embiid get away with that stuff, you have to let the Knicks get away with the same stuff. Advantage Knicks. Look, I'm still thinking game 4 is going to be huge. It's going to be a must win. But think about it. Game 3 took 50 points from Joel Embiid. 21 free throw attempts, more than the Knicks' entire team shot. Joel Embiid shot 21 free throw attempts alone, and him knocking Mitchell Robinson out of the game, who was a key cog in stopping him defensively in both games 1 and 2, specifically game 1. That's what it took for the Sixers to win a game at home by 10. A game that the Knicks, with 4 minutes left, still trailed by 8 and felt like they were right in it. And that's another thing. It felt like the Knicks were right there. That was my favorite part of the game. Down 8 with 4 minutes left, you never felt like this team was out of it. And the Sixers don't have the mental toughness or fortitude to close out a game 3 more times against this Knicks team. I don't believe they do. Can they do it behind the incredible talent of Embiid and Maxey? Sure. They got a great game from Cameron Payne. Okay, maybe they'll get another good campaign game, but I think the Knicks will start to attack him on the offensive side, make him play defense, and that'll take him out of the game. Batum's giving them nothing. Lowry's settled back into who he is, which is just a dirty player at this point in his career. They haven't gotten anything from Buddy Hield. I saw Spike Eskin, my former boss, said he'd rather have Marcus Morris than Buddy Hield right now, which is who they traded for Buddy Hield. And at the time of the trade, I think we talked about a similar thing. Like, why would you trade Marcus Morris for Buddy Hield? It made no sense to me at the time. And I remember talking to Spike about it at the time. And it's interesting. I do listen to a lot of what Spike has to say, and I credit because he's a smart, good sports fan. He's a smart, knowledgeable sports fan. He's very pragmatic the way he thinks about things. Obviously, he gets emotional about sports because he's a sports talk host now. But I trust his opinion about things when it comes to sports. And he's a Philly fan, and he hosts a Philly podcast. And now he obviously hosts the afternoon drive show in Philly. So I want to listen to what he has to say because I'm curious to hear what he says about the series. Look, he thinks Knicks fans are crying, which is fine. It was the Sixers fans crying after game 2. So it goes back and forth. I get it. But the point is, who do you trust on the Sixers team right now? He doesn't trust Buddy Hield. He said he would rather have Marcus Morris, and I would be more scared of Marcus Morris right now. B-Ball Paul, the guy, Paul Reed, that they call B-Ball Paul, has been the worst player by far on either team in this series. So I don't know. I'm not terribly like worked up over one loss. I didn't think it was going to be easy. I thought it would be Knicks in 6. I still think it's Knicks in 6. Guess what? Knicks in 6 probably means losing game 4 and having to come home and win a pivotal game 5. And that would be tough too. But that's part of it. This is all part of the same thing. Now, where I am concerned is for game 4 is that if Mitchell Robinson, who walked out in a boot, is still out for game 4. And that's where grabbing a guy by his bad leg goes a long way. And that's why Embiid should have been disciplined, because that could have really been what injured Mitchell Robinson and cost him to miss the second half of this game. And no one could stop Joel Embiid. You can't have Isaiah Hartenstein, who's playing in foul trouble, and as well as Precious Achiuwa played, which was nice. And it was a nice surprise off the bench to get that impact from him. As well as he played, you can't expect him and Isaiah Hartenstein with 4 or 5 fouls to stop Joel Embiid or an injured Mitchell Robinson. And that's what the Knicks had to throw at Joel Embiid, and nothing could stop him. And it wasn't even, and this is where it's also part of it where I don't think it's going to happen again. Joel Embiid he wasn't going in the paint. He wasn't driving. He still doesn't look like himself health-wise. He just couldn't miss a jumper, and he got to the line 21 times. If he starts missing some threes, I don't expect him to shoot threes and shoot jumpers like this throughout the series. I know he's a great, great shooter, but he's not this good. He's not this perfect. He could have one more game in a series like this where he can shoot a bunch of jumpers and everything's going to go down. He's going to keep getting to the line. They keep saying he gets to the line. He averages 12, almost 12 free throw attempts per game. This was almost double that with 21. So again, there's an anomaly there also. That's an abnormality. Him going to the line 21 times is not going to be sustainable. Him knocking down all these threes, all these jumpers at this rate is not going to be sustainable. He's still going to have to go into the paint and get his work that way. He barely took. The Knicks actually had more points in the paint by far than the Sixers in this game. So the Knicks were playing the more physical, tough game inside and getting less foul calls than Joel Embiid alone. It's crazy. So I'm worried about Mitch for game 4 because he is one of the big guys that gets that, especially if Hartenstein gets in foul trouble, and Hartenstein can be more aggressive knowing he's got Mitch behind him. So it's tough. I understand that part of it. What makes me extremely optimistic about the rest of the series for the Knicks is Jalen Brunson is back to being Jalen Brunson. 39 points, 13 assists, shooting well, shooting threes, shooting with confidence. He got to the line a bunch. Jalen Brunson is the guy we needed him to be. Now, everyone else kind of took a step back, but the Knicks scored 114 points. Coming into this game, now I love this stat. The Knicks they had won 17 of their last 19. It's now 17 of their last 20 games when they score 105 points or more because their defense is that good. They don't give up 125 points in a game. It doesn't happen. And Jalen Brunson said it after the game. He said, look, our team lost a game that we allowed 43 points in the third quarter in. We need to fix that. That's what the game comes down to. We allowed 43 points in the third quarter. That can't happen again. We're not going to win many games if that happens again. Pretty simple. That's a leader. He didn't talk about the fouls. He didn't talk about Embiid. He didn't talk about any of it. He said, we lost the game because we allowed 43 points in the third quarter. That's what you want to hear from your superstar, especially after he has an incredible game. And you know what? It felt like an underrated Jalen Brunson game again, where he was just cruising the whole game and never felt like he was forcing anything or doing a ton and still had 39 points and 13 assists. That's superstar. That's a level of superstar that when it just feels like it just happened, like it didn't feel like he was going off and he still had 39 and 13. That's crazy. If that's the Jalen Brunson we're getting the rest of the series, I'm really confident. Look, Josh Hart was always going to come back to the means, but I still expect more from Dante DiVincenzo. He disappeared again in game 3. I still expect more from Bojan Bogdanovic off the bench. You didn't get a ton from Deuce McBride. You got a nice game, best game of the series from OG, but he's still trying to find himself in his offense, which makes sense. He's been in and out of the lineup so much. I expect those guys to step up. But Jalen Brunson is the key cog in this whole thing. And if this is the Brunson that we get, and he could be even better, he could go off in one of these games because that wasn't even going off, quote unquote, then I like where the Knicks are. Still going to be a tough series. Still going to be hard fought. I get that. But up 2-1, going into game 4. Game 4 is a huge game. You win game 4, you win the series. I believe that truly. And I'm almost willing to say if the Sixers win game 4, they could win the series just off winning game 4. So game 4 is huge Sunday afternoon in Philly. And I saw the Knicks are doing a watch party in Brooklyn, which I said they should be doing. They should be doing watch parties. Knicks fans want to be together. But, I mean, they took over the Sixers arena. I expect there to be even more Knicks fans on Sunday booing the hell out of Joel Embiid every time he touches the ball. I don't think Joel Embiid could play the tough guy. I don't think he's actually tough. Him after the game talking about his Bell's palsy, it's a very tough for me. No, stop playing the victim. He's a little whiny bitch. And the same thing with Nick Nurse smirking and being like, I didn't see anything. Shut up. I'm done with these guys. These guys are such losers. And this is what you love about the NBA playoffs. You grow this animosity towards guys that you never knew you could have before. I always knew I was going to hate Kyle Lowry during this series, but Joel Embiid, I mean, come on. It's not fun to watch him play. It's stupid. And he gets these ticky-tack foul calls. He complains about everything. You saw the one play where he's stomping his feet like, oh, he didn't because he didn't get a foul call. Such a baby, and it works, and it's a shame. And the league needs to clean it up, and the league needs to discipline and police him in game 4, and that's a good thing for the Knicks. Because I think they will. I think all this backlash, I don't think the league likes it. They don't like the negative headlines. I think they want to fix it, and it'll shift the other way, in my opinion, in game 4. And that should give the Knicks an advantage, and I'm okay with that. I think Philly was always going to have the advantage in game 3, but they swung too hard. They took too far of an advantage, meaning they could have at least had the free throw disparity. They could have had some of the ticky-tack fouls go their way, not the other way. The fact that they went all out and decided to start punching guys in the balls and grabbing guys by their legs when they're up in the air, that like pushed it too far, and it could ultimately hurt the Sixers in game 4. Whereas if they just kept it under the radar and got their advantage that they were always going to get after how much they complained in game 2, and in game 4, it would still be even. But now it feels like the pendulum has to swing back to the Knicks side, and I like that for the Knicks. By the way, the NFL draft was last night, and I'm in Detroit right now. It's hyped up. Everyone's excited about it around here. To me, the draft is the most overhyped thing in sports. Like, I've officially come up to this opinion and this conclusion. You have these idiots on Twitter ruining every pick, tweeting it out before it happens, before it's announced. You have the experts. I don't think a single one of the experts got even 50% of the first right accurately. And then afterwards, every pick is either a great pick or a terrible pick. There's no in between. Oh, this is a great pick. Here's why. Nobody knows anything. The experts don't know anything. The fan bases don't know anything. MLB actually has it right. I used to make so much fun of MLB that we never know when the draft is. It's a secret. Shh. MLB does the draft in a freaking broom closet with no cameras, doesn't tell anyone when it's happening. It's like in middle of the summer when the baseball season's happening during games. It's not a big deal at all. No one gives a shit. And then guess what? 4 years later, we find out, hey, this guy was drafted first overall by our team, and now he's in the majors. Look at that, because they go to the minors for 5 years anyway. Baseball has it right, though. Because guess what? Half of the guys who were drafted last night in the first round are going to be busts anyway. We know that. I don't know. Maybe they do have it right after all. The last thing, because the Yankees split their series 2 out of 4 with the Oakland A's. The Yankees are so lucky that the Knicks are playing in the playoffs, that the Rangers are playing in the playoffs, that the Islanders are down 3-0 in the playoffs, that the NFL draft was last night and continuing today. Because how the fuck do you split with the Oakland A's at home? My God. And in the 2 games you lost, you scored a total of 1 fucking run. Maybe they scored 2, but I think it was 1. Jesus Christ, Yankees. Get it together. Come on. This is exactly what I mean. This team, this offense still lulls to sleep, and everyone who's not worried, oh, Aaron Judge, he had a double in the game 3 of the series, in game 2 of the series, and he had a home run in game 3 after a balk. Ooh. Yeah, he still looks like Aaron Judge from time to time. I don't expect him to be absolutely nothing, but he's not close to the player that he's capable of being, and that's concerning. And the Yankees are getting off pretty easy because everything else is going on. Not me. I'm holding you accountable. This doesn't fly under the radar for me. And the Yankees need to pick it up. You can't lose 2 out of 4 to the Oakland A's, who are trying to lose games at home. Come on. Get it together, Yankees. All right. That's going to do it for me. Have a great weekend, everyone. Rangers game tonight. Big Rangers game. Before the Rangers game, I'm going to have pregame. So look on TikTok, bare minimum TikTok, Hockey Today TikTok. Check it out. We're going to have pregame before the Rangers game tonight. There'll be postgame as well. I won't be a part of the postgame show, but I will be on the pregame show live on TikTok. So call in. Tell me your thoughts on the Rangers up 2-0. They're heading to DC now, and it feels like the Rangers haven't even – the series feels like it hasn't even started yet, and the Rangers already have a 2-0 lead. Now, it's felt the same way last year with the Devils, but the Devils don't have close – or the Capitals don't have close to the talent and the speed that the Devils had last year. So I'm pretty confident about the Rangers. Not confident about them going up against Carolina in the second round because Carolina is an absolute juggernaut, and they're up 3-0 on the Islanders. So that's tough. But hey – I feel pretty good as of right now about the Rangers. I have my Chris Kreider jersey with me, and I will wear it proudly until next time. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Don't forget to use my code with Hugo. 15% off your first order. Cherish little things. Till then, see ya.